privilege to have Bill Powers in our audience, as state senator for the state of Tennessee. Sir, would you offer up a prayer for us?
I would. Let us pray. Oh God, from whom all powers come, by whose divine will all must abide, we thank you for our civil liberties and freedom, for our opportunities and our privileges. We beg of you to bless, assist, and enlighten all those elected from our state of Tennessee. May they prove worthy of the confidence placed in them by their fellow citizens. May they be just and upright in their thinking, honest in their actions, and be ever guided by a true conscience in the legislation they propose and vote upon. Forgive us all our mistakes and selfish tendencies, and help prepare us by our good deeds for an eternal union with you through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Privilege to have you in our audience, and we may defer to you at a later moment, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Call the meeting forward. We'll get a roll call.
Armin Mitchum.
Here.
Armin Moore. Here. Armin Ligon. Here. Armin Baggett.
Here.
Armin Parchman. Armin Warren. Armin Good.
Here.
Armin Carson.
Here.
Mayor Bailey.
Here.
Mr. Stevens.
Here.
All right. Call the meeting to order. We've got, you can give me a copy of the minutes for the August. And I'll take a look at those. Is there a motion to approve the August minutes? Do we have a motion to approve? Second. Oh, we have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Up next, I've got a couple of notices here that I've been asked about. The city of Erin will be posting up some places that on their site that you can donate for the city of Waverly. I've been asked to do that, so we will be doing that. I know that is a place that is in need right now and will be for several months to come. Also, I've been asked to remind y'all that September is Suicide Prevention Month. On an average, there are 132 people a day in the United States that commit suicide. Suicide ranks number 9 as far as the leading cause of death in Tennessee, and there are approximately 1,219 people in Tennessee that committed suicide last year. And so the request that has been made to me is if you suspect anything, something that you know, something's not right or something, don't wait till it's too late. Reach out to these people and help them. That's what I've been asked. Because, you know, when you think about it, that 132 people a day equates to about 48,000 people a year in the United States that are losing their life to suicide. If there is any way that you see something or that you can assist or in any manner, just keep that in mind because this is Suicide Prevention Month. There's been a lot that's went on in this previous month of August, starting on the 21st when we had several flooding issues. And I would like to start off by saying I appreciate what the city of Erin employees, whether they are fire, police, maintenance, people in the office that answered calls in the days following as far as the flooding issues and things that needed to be cleaned or rectified. Houston County personnel, we have several of those in the audience as far as Sheriff's Department employees that were out doing things. And of course, we had other people within the county. And I would like to say thank you for all that you did to help minimize the damage that happened here in the city of Erin and in Houston County. If you look to our neighboring city, there is just so much devastation and at a time when we need to be praying for those people, we, I guess, shamefully can also be thankful that it did not happen to us. And I guess that is almost something bad to say, but you know, we do need to be praying for those people and for the months to come. Many losses that were there, but we should also be thankful that we did not have as much happen here there were several things that happened, and, I guess at this time, I'd like to talk about that a little bit, we did receive about 20% of our normal rainfall in less than 24 hours on the 21st of August. And that is a lot to contain, and I know that ideally, there would never be a flood, but I also know that there is a reason that a lot of the downtown, the city of Huron is in a flood zone, in a floodway, and that's something that has to be looked at, and as far as how you look at that and what you do, I know we have a list here, and there's about 37 areas within the city, and I'm not talking about the county, but within the city that were affected by, flooding issues, and we have went looking and we've tried to rectify some of those. We're still in the process. We have corrected some of those. We will be, FEMA has reached out to us, and we will be submitting some plans for reimbursement to do some paving work on several of the areas that we have in town as far as bridges, and some of those that come to mind are Front Street and then at Arlington, Maple Street, some paving there. There's just several areas that we have that we will be working on. Gandy Street, there's a culvert, there's some paving there, Metcalf Drive. I mean, we have several on this list that we are looking at. Holy Street, we have several areas that we're looking at that FEMA has said they will reimburse us for. We just have to make sure that we do it in the proper manner as far as bidding and taking care of these issues. I do have Philip Baggett here in the audience that if he wants to speak or say anything about some of the issues, but as I said before, I think the maintenance has been working very diligently at trying to rectify the issues, and the paving estimate is about $18,000 for the two bridges, and of course, that's just the two bridges. We have some other areas that we will be looking at, and they are working on getting some estimates for us, but then, as I said, we'll have to bid it out. When it comes down to it, we'll bid it out, get it taken care of in that manner. If you don't have any questions as far as the flooding updates, I know that's kind of brief, but that's kind of what we're looking at. As I said, we have 37 areas within the city, and but we are trying to work and get those things. It's just when you have a rain event like that, where you have so much water in just a limited area that you can displace the water, it does make an issue, and I think that's being seen now in other areas as far as New York, New Jersey, they're having issues with flooding. Waverly, it's not just an issue here, it's an issue in the low-lying areas. I've always made the statement that I don't worry about a tornado in here, but the tornadoes are the Tennessee Ridge, it's the flooding that gets us in here. So that's kind of one way of looking at it. I know it's not a good way of looking at it, but it is the things that affect us. Before I move on, are there any questions about the flooding issue or any comments?
I have one.
Go ahead, sir.
What about the creeks? What are we going, what can we do to get the creek cleaned? That's the problem right there. We need,
It is, and unfortunately, and Philip can answer that probably better than I can. Mr. Baggett, he was director of operations, but part of our issue is we are limited in what we can do. TDEC, state of Tennessee.
But the creek is not really a creek, it's a drainage system. I mean, there's nobody boats in that creek, nobody fishes in that creek. It just, if you don't keep that creek cleaned out, just like in front of, behind the pinhead place, it's building up with gravel. If you go around there, the gravel's almost gonna be up top of the road. If you don't get a tractor to come down there and clean that creek out, you're still gonna have problems that you've got now. And years ago, they did that. But why we can't do that now, I don't understand.
Well, I think as things as that happen is.
And the best thing that ever happened was when the police department and the city come and cleaned all the roads out. now that they've got that cleaned out, we actually can see a post office and see a Family Dollar that was grown up so bad you couldn't see it. If that hadn't been cleaned out, it'd been 10 times worse than what it was.
It is, and I have caught flack for that too, by the way, because that was done partly on private property.
But still, the
And-
private
and
property
as I
part,
understand, we did it for flood control, it's done for flood.
still the private property part is we all pay taxes. And it should be took care of.
Well,
And when the taxes come, they want it. But when it comes to cleaning it up, nobody gets anything done.
That's true.
I mean, I've called Senator Myers' office, I've called everybody I can call. He's the only one that's called me back out of all of them I've called. Jay Reed hadn't called me back, but several of them hadn't called me back. I'm gonna call everybody I know. And the ones that help us out with this, I'm gonna try to get them a few votes. I might not get them the two, but I'm doing that. Something needs to be done with creek. There's a way to clean the creeks out. Somebody needs to address it and find out how we need to get it done. It's got to be. That's plain and
That's part
simple.
of the reason I invited Mr. Myers here tonight, because I felt like there would be some concerns. And, I trust that he will take it back with him, but I'm not trying to throw anything at him. I mean, as city mayor, I understand it is a priority, but as I understand it, one of the floods we had was in 1937. That was long before I was mayor. And I talked to people about that. We have it in 37, 68, 70-something, 81, 2010, 2001. It's nothing new. Unfortunately, we have done some of this to ourselves. The more you pay, the more you build, the more rooftops you have, the more problems you have. And when someone builds, and that's why we have our, Mr. Clark, you're a member of the planning commission. You know that we have codes in place to assist us with this. That's why that some of the things the city does not allow is because of flooding issues.
Like years ago, back before 010, everything was good. That's like I'm sitting on a piece of land right now that's in a flood right away. Back in 010, it wasn't that big a flood right away. Then FEMA had moved it long over off the railroad track. And I've had 4 major floods, and I have yet to have any water in my business. So when I've addressed that, why am I in it? But nobody, they just keep telling me, well, FEMA said we're wrong line if we're there.
And you can do a loan and get it taken out of that. if you
But they tell me they can't take it out because it's always gonna be there.
I mean, I don't know, and I do know that they're changing things, I do know that. I don't, but as I could say, we've had floods, the first one I had always, Ben Hamer always tells me, that was 1937, he can remember, and it goes on from there. 68, that's when the house is floated down. I mean, there's issues that we've had, and they probably are continuing to get worse, but part of that is because.
And I think the biggest thing is with the floods every time, is to make sure the creeks are clean and the side of the banks are clean. You just can't jump up the creeks and let everything come down and stop all the breaches up, and that's when it causes a major flood.
But I also have a building on the west end of town, that is before you get into town, it's flooded.
Because of one thing, because you got a cover that's built there, come down, stops everything up. That used to, even back when I was in school in 1980, never happened.
But I know there are some issues, and we will look at it, and,
You know, in the past, they talked about going up there and Bobby Lane, this is way back there, building a dam. They said all the flooding comes from there. They thought about building a dam up there. That's been in the discussion years ago about doing that.
it has been, but as you recently saw in Waverly, where that rail blowed out, that could be detrimental also.
Yeah, we don't want to put a railroad up there, we want a dam.
And it can blow out though,
It was good.
but that also takes money in tax dollars.
It does. No, the biggest thing, you know, it's just, I mean, if they just think we just get some kind of way, a grant, clean streets out, that's what they do. Drainage is what we
And
need.
I think in light of everything that's happened, I think especially what has happened in Waverly, I think the state of Tennessee may look at things a little differently now than they have, and may provide some more money. That remains to be seen. But as far as the city of Erin, I feel, and like I say, the FEMA has given us some information and they're continuing to provide us with information based on what has happened recently. And, I can promise you, anything that FEMA will give us, we will spend on cleaning up the creeks or making adjustments, making things that we can to ensure that doesn't happen. But I can also say, as an owner of property, and I have witnessed the 2010 flood, the 2011 flood, and just the flood last 2 weeks ago. When you have the volume of water that I stood out in the street, and I did it in 2010 the first time at 5 minutes after midnight on May 2nd, when you see that volume of water, that is a volume of water. And I think sometimes it's underestimated. And no, I don't know what the answers are. I'll be the first to tell you that. But I'm going to tell you that was a volume of water like you wouldn't believe. I saw it in 2010. And I sat there and watched it as it came up. And I thought it was going to wash my building away, but it didn't. And I saw it again most recently 2 weeks ago and thought it's going to wash my building away. But it didn't, fortunately. But I'm saying it was a volume of water like you wouldn't believe. And I have video footage, and it is amazing. And as someone said in our work session, it was an act of God. And it is amazing what he will do. But what I have said before, and I don't do the algorithms, I do not. But there's a reason that flood insurance is more than fire insurance. It's because they've done the algorithms, and you're more likely to flood if you're in a flood zone than you will burn. So, I mean, it's things that we look at, and yes, I want to assure you that the city of Erin is going to continue to look at what we can do for the city. And if we get any money from FEMA, which they've given us a list, we're still working on how they're going to prioritize it, what they're going to do. But anything they give us, anything they can tell us we can spend, if we have to get, which sometimes we have to bid it out, we'll bid it out, we'll do whatever we have to do. We will spend as much money as they'll give us on the budget. That's what I can assure you.
But we need more than a one-time fix, we need more of a plan, like a preventive maintenance plan to keep everything flowing all the time. We don't need a.
That's where I would strongly encourage any homeowner to do what they can on their property.
But we got.
And not leave it up to the city of Erin.
Hey, does that creek up there belong to me?
Do what?
That creek up there belong to me? Y'all tell me the creek belongs to me?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
I'm
I
a
see
property owner.
stuff washed off in the creek that if people know they're in a flood zone, don't put that stuff where it's washed off in the creek. You know, don't put stuff where it will blow out of the bridges. You know,
I try
that's
not to.
something you have to look at.
I get a lot of other people.
Now, well, yeah, I saw a refrigerator in Clarence parking lot. I'm sure it wasn't their refrigerator. So, I mean, it does happen.
I mean, plain and simple, get the creek cleaned out, we need to get somebody to get permission, get the creeks and get them cleaned out, whatever we gotta do, we got to do that.
Yes, sir.
I think in the Tennessee Senate, when somebody mentions your name as a legislator, you're automatically allowed to rebut or talk to whoever it is. So I appreciate you calling my name out, because I think it's important that people understand that there are politicians that could talk other politicians back. Let me say two things. I've been here twice already with Jay Reed. I was at Yellow Creek and I went to Wells Creek. And both of those were on TX. It's on their radar. I can tell you this right now, all the resources are going and should be going to Humphreys County.
Yeah.
And partially Dixon County. But there will be a time after this that there are some answers that need to be derived from people around here. We'll do that. We'll read it and I'll get together. But it's not going to be any kind of something that you're going to have to go there. They got a lot on their plate.
Yeah,
right now in
we're all
Humphreys County.
full away.
But after that's over, I don't have a problem calling another meeting and bringing down the powers to be and doing whatever we do. You know, we were across Farm Bureau. I think we were at the barber shop, And then we went to somebody's farm way out Yellow Creek. I can't remember where that was. But, I think this has gotten the state's attention. And, I can tell you, I'll do everything we can. That's why I'm here tonight.
You know, we appreciate you coming, that's what we
Not a
expect.
problem. I enjoy doing it, I really do. And, we're in a position where our money's pretty good in the state of Tennessee. And something like this, to remedy it where it doesn't happen again, which is probably unlikely, but to possibly lessen the effects of events such as this. Interest we call it eventualities, and it is, it's gonna happen. sooner or later. But, all I can tell you is I'll get with Jay Reed and I'll get with Mayor Paul here. We'll figure something out. If you'd like to be involved, call Paul's office. I'd love to have you part of the discussion. You have been very nice.
We appreciate you coming, we appreciate your help, you can help.
No problem. I'll help you on the team.
And I would also like to say that, Senator Powers was the first person who contacted me and contacted me directly, after we had our flooding incident here in Cherokee. He was the first person who contacted me, and he was followed shortly by, a representative from, Senator Mark Green's office. So I will say that they both reached out to me, Mr. Powers was first. I'm trying to say it was a race, but I appreciate both of them reaching out to me and asking if there was anything they could do. Mr. Powers actually asked if there was any need for a volunteer in the city here in Houston County. And I told him I felt like we had it under control, and I said if we wanted to go somewhere, Waverly might be the place to go, but it definitely would be the place to go. But I will say, I appreciate what they've done, and as I said, I think that the recent events will help the state of Tennessee reconsider some of the issues, as you're saying, cleaning out the creeks. I think that might be something the state of Tennessee reconsiders on what we're allowed to do based on these recent events. So, I mean, it is something we will continue to look at and try to find out what we can do and push to do it. And as I said, if anything that FEMA will allow us to do, we will do. If with the money, we will spend it as wisely as we can, but we will try to do whatever we can to do that. And also, I have Sheriff Kevin Sugg, and he asked if he could briefly speak. He wanted to amend some people, I believe. Go ahead.
I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor. I first want to say, you guys think of cleaning the creek for it. I'm so sorry, but that's what it is, you know.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. I do.
We did it to save our town, we care about our town, we care about the SUV. I reached out to the state, talked to something John, over PDEC. Talked to the truck, to the team. Whatever, I think it's worth it, and that's not what I'm here about today.
We appreciate you coming.
Thank you, sir. I'm here on front of the police department. 21st is hard for everybody. We don't stop here across the street. Your police department here, on what way, but it's a high standard for any law enforcement officer, on the deck. I'm there with Chris Davis, the sheriff, I talked to him, he said, he goes to every place to thank Houston County for what they've done. So I'm gonna try to have him kind of meet on the 20th. And I think it's all right, we can get it, but but on the 21st, we was called by Chris Davis, the sheriff of Memphis County, begging for help. Any kind of military equipment, anything we could, aiding him, we was called for that. We responded to calls of other people to do what they need to do here. Chief Mark Morrison, Justice Perry Go, and Justice, and Josh, he was supposed to get there on my decks. The bridge was cut off. When I got there, there was a woman in a 20-foot of water, swift water. She was hanging on him, we've been hanging there for 3 hours. Them 3 hours, because that's how long it took us to get her out of that water. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to the sheriff and the person in town. When you have officers, it risks their life. To save a life, that's about as high a merit you're gonna get. What percentage? We double up that these young men right here, with the 82 state troopers to come, Mark Lord, myself, and a few people that was there on the fire department. We wrote these two individuals off. And we fished them down, right, 20-foot of water, saved his life. These two young men went out there, they didn't have a question, they chose to step up and take the lead on this. Our team's women, Mark, we can't leave. These two gentlemen right here stepped up, and leaped down what was river for probably a good 50 yards, so this lady was safe. It took 3 hours. After that, two young men went to a house, or attic, or a van, and a lady was stranded in an attic, screaming, to where he was on a life support unit, 1 hour prior to that, back to keep him alive. These two young men, they waited on from there and got them safe. We worked over there, donated their time, put it over there. Here. So I talked to Gordon over here. Two families in his home, get the straight, better. Shower, clean them up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your police officer. And see him go home, he would go over there and work for Sheriff Davis, here in Cleveland. I don't know what kind of award the city have offered these men. But they risked their life to save life. That lady is alive today. We all returned home after getting in the water. Every one of us had to have $50 shots, tetanus shots. The other things we broke out, hives, from the food and everything in the water. We didn't know. And, you know, I've known nobody was gonna tell the story. Mr. Davis came to around and tell the story. He gave the commission me. He wasn't there. We was cut off. We didn't have phone service. We didn't have radio service. We didn't have nothing. He wrote on weed. Two young men stepped up, above and beyond all of the anything the city could give them. As far as the award of God saving, the chief of police, young men earned it. And then they come home and work even after that over there. And, you can't hardly keep nothing from Marcus. No, you can't keep nothing from him. I kind of get work this out, Andy, because we don't want to tell this God's truth. Ladies talking to me around, telling me, tell her story about getting her life saved and doing it then. We went back over the next day, and it was a street with the bypass that we were swimming in. The buildings and cars flipping down it. And I just can't tell you enough about these young men. They keep on the evidence. I want you to know that we've got a fire police department, we've got a harness police department. We've got young men, women ready to step up, and I'm proud of them. Everybody's proud of them, and I appreciate this woman telling you this. Whatever award these young men consider for the life-saving award, they are never better.
Our sheriff's, James Pride. Sheriff's, I appreciate it. You're talking about the chief's department, and I do appreciate it. You know, as I said earlier, I appreciate anything our city or, you know, we have people that work hard, and I appreciate it. I think it's evidence here, and they're dedicated, and I appreciate that so much. I do appreciate it.
Hey, Paul, I'd like to say that the sheriff's department, the city of here, police department are working together now. We really do appreciate it.
We, and they do work well together, and I appreciate what they do to assist each other, because, you know, as citizens of Houston County, we may be citizens of here, we may not be citizens of here, but as citizens of Houston County, I appreciate that they do work well together. I appreciate that. Under the planning commission.
Yeah, the planning commission had a letter page asked that should be allowed to put her use on in her home on the street. And, they approved that, this is something that's been done for, zoning, for public hearing and zoning appeals, and that was all. Approved that zoning appeals.
Thank you. Up next, the personnel committee, I think I'm just going to combine that with the, new business. Okay, because the personnel committee met, and for some of the things that they looked at, there's several things in your, personnel committee minutes that are in your agenda, but the main thing is on page 7, they added 8 additional requirements to ensure the employee application would be covered with personnel policy. On page 9, appointments to the 3 added department head verbiage. On page 11, performance appraisal and evaluation changed will to May. Page 12, the legal holidays, we added June 19th, which is Juneteenth. Page 12 is annual vacation with pay. And so we created a scale, we reached out to communities around us, which is what the personal policy committee wanted to do. And so 1 to 4 years is 80 hours, 5 to 9 years is 120 hours, 10 to 15 years is 160 hours, 16 years and older is 200 hours. Employees may accumulate up to a maximum of 240 hours, and 120 hours may be rolled over from 1 calendar year to the next. Payment in lieu of vacations not to exceed 120 hours. Voluntary leave donation is a new thing. Employees may donate to other employees that have exhausted their available comp, earned sick, and vacation leave. And so a recipient may donate a recipient employee may receive up to a maximum of 240 hours donated leave within a 5-year period. The intent of leave contributions to fellow employees is to provide an opportunity for employees to provide humanitarian aid and assistance to fellow employees. All leave transfers must be approved by the department head and the mayor in writing and submitted to the city recorder process. The request form must be completed to its entirety, and it was after the last personnel policy meeting, it's determined that each employee must have earned and retained 240 cumulative hours of sick hours before donating to another employee, because you don't want to leave yourself short-handed and create an issue that way, but that's what this is for. Are there any questions about that? And if not, is there a motion to approve ordinance 637 to revise the personnel rules and regulations for the city of Aaron employees?
Making a motion to approve ordinance 637 without.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Carmen Mitchell,
Yes.
Rhonda
All right, up next is our mesh system. This is, we talked about this at the work session, but this would be a way, as y'all are aware, we could do the drive-by meter reading, but with the mesh system, we would be able to read about 1,400 meters in the down, I call it downtown area, but when you're talking about 1,400 meters, you're reaching a pretty good area. They would be able to be read in the office. In other words, one of the ladies in the office would press a button on the computer. There is, I think, 5 sites that would collect the data, but it's transferred from meter to meter, and then it's would be transferred to the office through these sites, and it takes about less than 15 minutes to read all the meters, which would decrease the time that the employees would be out reading meters. Now, of course, we do still read the meters, even though we have the radio reads, we try to read them affordably and make sure there's no issues still. But this would assist us in being able to read the meters. It's less wear and tear on the vehicles driving past the meters. It would help us. You can also pull profiles, like if someone complains that their meters reading is too high, if they're within this mesh group, the ladies in the office would no longer have to get a work order to get someone, say Jackie, who's been so nice as to do our camera tonight, but he also runs around and does work orders for us, and he would have to drive to that meter and pull the data off the meter. With this mesh system, we could just pull it up in the office, and so within a couple minutes, we could have the data that we needed to discuss whether or not this person had a leak, high usage. It enables us. We have the ability to read the meter usage by the hour, so we can know at midnight if you're filling your pool. So we can actually tell them if there's an issue or if there's a water leak. Even now with the system we have, if we drive by and read the meter, if they have water continuously flowing for 24 hours, it will ding and tell us there's a possible leak. So that's helpful. But with the mesh system, we can do it much more quickly and save on labor, but also help us in the office as far as the reading and the billing. So that's a brief synopsis of that. And we do have a couple people from the water department that are in our audience that can answer any questions about that if you would like. Are there any questions about the mesh system? If not, would there be a motion to approve the mesh system? Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Up next is, we are asking for permission to procure a collection agency to file all the delinquent accounts and try to collect on behalf of the city here. We have delinquent water accounts. We also have delinquent fines and cost accounts. And the agency go out and sometimes they do their off charges on top of what the city would, what we would have. And in some cases, it may be a percentage, but what we're doing is we're looking for permission to go out and search for someone that would assist in collecting our delinquent accounts. We will talk about the city here and get some money owed to us. This would not apply to our taxes as we turn our taxes over to the county, and they take care of the tax. So this would be for fines and costs, water, sewer, that's.
So have we not ever done anything with the collection agency before something out before this comes like this?
Right, we do try to, like, if somebody leaks our system, what we try to do is, and this is for water, and if someone leaks our system, say they move and they leak on the wheel, they move wherever, when they move back into our system, we try to collect at that time, because we have a record, so we will try to collect at that time, say, hey, you let know when it's, you have to pay this, and you're being turned on. Some of these things don't come back to our system. Sometimes we may not realize it, and they may come back to our system, but it may be in their spouse's name, okay, or a brother's name or something.
What are you gonna call the delinquent? That's what you're doing.
Uh,
That's the most.
Probably anything over 60 days. I mean, and unless the board would say differently, I would say anything over 60 days. Now, it might for fines and costs if they have a agreement, go get, I mean, if they have a agreement with
We're required by the state to have citations turned in our state. On the same, certain number of days. So after that, back.
So you're wanting to do delinquent just underwater to collect your sewer
yeah, it would be.
fines or even if you run tickets or. So if you have a set time that you have to collect it. So it could be a different time scale for you as for the
We,
water.
as long as they're not too crazy, we would probably just make it the same code, just to simplify things. I mean, I don't think this would be very far out. So, but, and he has the same issue. He, I'm sure it happens, not all the time, but it sure happens some without town, they get tickets, they don't think they're coming back to the city here, and that may not like us. So this would be awkward, and we may not collect, but we do know that the home collection agency gets money as we get. So we're not at a loss for anything. So, you know,
Well, some will.
yes, but we will make sure that it's an agency that also collects it. You know, we don't want an agency that just charges for everything, because that's not what we get. Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the, hiring of a collection agency or, trying to secure a collection agency?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, we have a second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Up next, we have a motion to approve the hiring of Brandon Arnold for the maintenance department. Philip, would you like to speak about Mr. Arnold?
Yes, sir. We had 5 applicants for the position, and 3 of them turned it down outright and didn't come in. I had 2 come in, and then the other one said he got a better offer, and then Brandon called me back and said that he would like to take it after interview. He'd like to take the job. So we hired him, or we've got him hired right now.
As far as I can tell, he has been doing a good job, and of course, he is hired on a probationary basis. If there are no questions, is there a motion to approve the hire of Brandon Arnold for the maintenance department? Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Up next, on the agenda, we have a motion for, we have a, move to approve the hiring of Gordon Nickel for the Air Police Department, Chief Morrison.
Mayor, Mr. Lee said in interviews, we did a number of interviews. As I've told you before, I know selection myself, all involved with the work for the basis. Done interviews, the position for the vehicle, Sure County. Working with this last couple of days. Already accepted this category.
What position did,
That's 1 and 2. He has hired on the other one. Dealt with next
so
year.
you have both positions?
Both are on uncertified.
So when they both want to have them, right? So that,
Unfortunately, we have to wait on the public hearing.
I'm supposed to.
I was-
I was thinking,
Are there any questions about? If not, is there a motion to approve the hiring?
so,
Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we would like to swear this man in. I'm going to go ahead and say this. You're probably going to be referred to as George quite often because every time I pronounce your last name, I'm just not quite sure I'm getting it. I apologize.
That's all right.
Stand on stage. I can repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
or affirm that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and I will obey the laws of the United States
and I will obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Tennessee,
and the state of Tennessee,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions of the Charter
preserve the traditions and charter
and the ordinances of the city of Erin,
and ordinances of the city of Erie,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer.
I will
Faithfully
faithfully
discharge
discharge
the duties
the duties
of the office
of the office
of a police officer.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate anybody that is willing to serve. Chief Moore was located in, behind the police.
All right, for the month of September, the police department answered a total of 330 calls for service. Issued 53 citations, made 22 arrests, with 2 driving on the road, 2 felony 500, felony theft, 2 vandalism, criminal conspiracy, alternate title, alternate VIN number, 3 possession of drug paraphernalia, 3 possession of marijuana, possession of schedule 1 drug, possession of schedule 2 drug, 3 possession of methamphetamine, possession of that. We had 4 citations, we had arrests, 5 accidents, and none of those. I'm gonna kind of reflect what the sheriff was talking about. I had it down here in my notes, and he jumped into it. But, I can't be prouder of these guys. It was a nerve-wracking day. We received the letter from the sheriff's office, used to get us our highway patrol. I've said it out here at our thing. Didn't really think much of it that day. It was a kid. He lost a life that day. Get a feeling of guilt. What can we done on it? People don't understand, but they give it on that basis, but they see it. They think this again, they see it, but it's a different world. Justice, senior, county, I appreciate everything y'all done. It doesn't go unnoticed. Actually, he said something about my head with him, I'm like, he told it like it was, we got justice off, sitting him out there quite a ways in the park. He's on out there, days okay. I got out there about 10 15, yes, yeah. And the current took the ground that I wouldn't find out, I was full justice, I just stopped for him. But when they took my feet out, they won't let me think about nothing. I turned around, I was a kid, hand on my shoulder, beside one of them. And it dawned on me, he didn't sleep. I'm in a world of big sea, it ain't gonna float. I ask you, if you see this guy back, just think, just the things you think in this law. Like he said, I'm sure. Sheriff Davis, everybody's involved. We're proud of everybody here in our community, have to secure it. Can't accomplish anything without working together. Mr. Rye, I feel the same way as you, it's good, just need to do something done. So I'm sorry that we have we got a minute. More important, we need to line. I don't agree with that. Minimum that more protections are human lives. Sheriff, you probably don't receive the permit that you heard. I know you personally was out with these trustees, working out here at 6 o'clock. And I know you go home. But he was out here, he was letting that out towel. That street cleaned out. A lot of other things. Legitimate, we could do a whole lot of things. I have to see you out there. As bad as I hate to be asked, I was greatly honored to be myself and Gordon. All there. It's an honor for us to represent the city. I appreciate the assistance of you guys. You guys know what it is. I think it's a good decision. It's probably the biggest problem that we've been asked. That would have to be done. I'll go back to the police report, if there's any questions, I'll be done.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Next, we have the City Area Fire Department report. Says the City Area Fire Department responded to 3 residential structure fires, 2 utility fires, 1 gas leak, 3 fire alarms, 2 wrecks, 2 landing zones. And on August 21st, we were activated for a total of 18 hours responding to a total of 13 emergency calls, 7 of those being water rescue. Firefighters took donations to Waverly and June on the 22nd and 23rd. No municipal fire permit applications were received. Danny would also like for me to remind you that that the leading cause of flood-related deaths is due to individuals driving through floodwaters. It only takes 3 inches of flowing water to float an SUV, even though an individual may know where the roadway may have been, that doesn't mean the roadway is still there. Washouts are very common on roadways during flooding events. Also, when an emergency vehicle is parked across the roadway, that means the roadway is shut down. Disregarding a sign or emergency personnel closing roadway is a violation of multiple state laws. Turnaround, don't drown is a very common phrase used worldwide to advise that people that driving through floodwaters is not advisable. On that note, there's actually a city of Parsons where they have those signs up on their roadways. It's kind of interesting when you go there. The turnaround, don't drown signs are up. Well, Thompson has some issues there at certain times, but any questions about that? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Have a second? I know everyone's in favor. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I appreciate your support. I also appreciate very much our police, sheriff's department. I appreciate what y'all did. Trying to keep.
That's right.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate you.